The victory celebration was still raging in Chicago. The Bulls had just won their third straight NBA championship, cementing their dynasty and Michael Jordan's status as the greatest player in basketball history. But as confetti fell and champagne flowed, the team's superstar seemed strangely distant. Within hours, he would vanish from the celebration, boarding a private jet to Las Vegas, a decision that would set in motion a chain of events darker and more dangerous than anyone could have imagined. For years, rumors have swirled about what really happened during Michael Jordan's mysterious trip to Vegas after the 1993 championship. The gambling, the secret high-stakes poker game, the shadowy figures who surrounded him. Now, the truth finally emerges about that fateful night and how it connected to the tragic events that followed, a truth that would change basketball history forever. The buzzer sounded. The Chicago stadium erupted in cheers that shook the old building to its core. The Chicago Bulls had just won their third NBA championship in a row. The date was June 20th, 1993, and Michael Jordan had once again proven why people called him the greatest basketball player in the world. "We did it!" screamed Scottie Pippen, jumping into Michael's arms. "3 in a row, baby!" Michael smiled and hugged his teammate, but something felt different this time. Yes, he was happy they won. Yes, he had played his heart out, scoring 33 points. But inside, a strange feeling grew. He felt tired in a way that sleep couldn't fix. Cameras flashed all around. People pushed microphones in his face. Everyone wanted a piece of Michael Jordan on this special night. "How does it feel to win 3 championships in a row?" a reporter asked. "It feels great," Michael said with his famous smile. The team worked hard all year for this moment. Later that night, the Bulls gathered at Michael's restaurant on North LaSalle Street. The team had rented the whole place for their celebration. Music played loudly. Players danced with their wives and girlfriends. Coach Phil Jackson sat in a corner, smoking his victory cigar with a peaceful look on his face. Michael sat at a table, near the back. He wore a black suit that probably cost more than most people's cars. A gold watch sparkled on his wrist. He slowly sipped water while everyone else drank champagne. "The man of the hour isn't celebrating?" asked Scottie Pippen, sliding into the seat across from Michael. Scottie had been Michael's teammate for all 3 championships. He knew Michael better than most. Michael forced a small smile. "Just taking it all in, Pip." "Something's wrong," Scottie said. It wasn't a question. "I've known you too long, MJ. You hit the winning shot. We just made history. But you look like someone stole your favorite shoes." Michael looked around the room at his celebrating teammates. Horace Grant was showing off his dance moves. Bill Cartwright was laughing with the coaches. These men were like brothers to him. "I need to clear my head," Michael finally said. "The season, the Olympics last summer, all the games and practices and interviews. Sometimes I feel like I can't breathe, Pip." Scottie leaned forward, concerned. "What are you saying?" Michael shrugged. "I don't know. Maybe I need a break. Few days away from everything." "You deserve it," Scottie agreed. "But the parade is in 2 days. The whole city wants to celebrate with us." "I'll be back for that," Michael promised. "I just need a little time." The party continued late into the night. Around 1 a.m., Michael stood up and quietly said his goodbyes. Some teammates tried to convince him to stay longer, but he politely refused. "Let the man go," Coach Jackson told. "Them? He carried us all season. He's earned some rest." Michael walked out of his restaurant into the warm Chicago night. A few fans waited outside hoping to see their hero. He signed some autographs and posed for pictures, always the professional. His driver, George, opened the door to the black Mercedes. "Where to, Mr. Jordan?" George asked. Michael thought for a moment. "The airport," he said suddenly. "The private terminal." "Sir?" "It's almost 2 a.m., George reminded him. "I know what time it is," Michael said firmly. "The airport, please." 3 hours later, as the sun began to rise over Chicago, Michael's private jet took off from O'Hare Airport. Only his pilot and one security guard were with him. He told no one else where he was going. Back at the Chicago Marriott downtown, where the team was staying after their victory, the phone rang in Scottie Pippen's room at 7 a.m. "Hello?" Scottie answered sleepily. "Pip, it's Phil Jackson. Is Michael with you?" "No, Coach. He left the party early. I figured he went back to his room." "Well, he's not there," Phil said, sounding worried. "Security checked his room. His bed hasn't been slept in. His suitcase is gone." Scottie sat up, suddenly wide, awake. That doesn't sound like MJ before a parade. By noon, the story had leaked to the press. Sports reporters camped outside the hotel. The Bulls staff kept saying Michael would return in time for the championship parade, but they couldn't hide their concern. It wasn't until evening that the mystery was solved. A photo appeared in a newspaper. It showed Michael Jordan entering the Mirage Hotel in Las Vegas. Sunglasses on, baseball cap pulled low, but still recognizable to anyone who knew basketball. The headline read, "Where is Michael? Bulls star spotted in Vegas after championship win." Back in Chicago, Scottie Pippen stared at the newspaper in disbelief. "Vegas," he whispered to himself. "What are you doing, Michael?" Meanwhile, in the bright lights of Las Vegas, Michael Jordan walked through the casino of the Mirage. He wasn't looking for the slot machines or the blackjack tables that he famously enjoyed. He was looking for someone specific, someone who might understand his growing desire to walk away from the game that had made him the most famous athlete in the world. As he passed the high-stakes poker room, a familiar voice called out, "Michael Jordan? I was wondering when you'd show up in my casino." Michael turned to see Fred Silvers, an old friend from back in North Carolina. Fred's presence in Vegas was no accident. Michael had come here for a reason, and what would happen in the next 48 hours would change basketball history forever. The championship celebration felt a million miles away now. Michael Jordan had a decision to make, and Vegas was where he chose to make it. "Fred Silvers," Michael said with a genuine smile, "the first real one since the final buzzer of the championship game. What are the chances?" Fred laughed and adjusted his gold-rimmed glasses. "No chance at all, my friend. I've worked at the Mirage for 3 years now. You know that." The two men hugged. Fred was shorter than Michael by a foot, but they shared the same hometown roots. They had known each other since Michael was just a skinny kid shooting hoops on a cracked court in Wilmington, North Carolina. "Come on," Fred said, guiding Michael away from the main casino floor. "Let's go somewhere quiet before people start noticing you." They walked through a door marked "Staff Only" and down a hallway with plush red carpet. Fred used a key card to open another door that led to a small but fancy office. "VIP host," Fred explained, pointing to his name on the door. "I take care of the big spenders," he winked at Michael. "Like you." Michael sank into a leather chair and loosened his tie. The weight of being Michael Jordan seemed to slip from his shoulders for a moment. "So," Fred said, sitting across from him, 3 championships in a row. Most guys would be partying with the team, not flying to Vegas alone. What's going on? MJ?" Michael looked at his hands, the same hands that had held the championship trophy just hours ago. "I'm tired, Fred. Not just regular tired. Soul tired." "Basketball getting to you?" Michael nodded slowly. "Everyone wants a piece of me." Jordan the player, Jordan the hero, Jordan the brand. Sometimes I wonder if anyone sees Michael the person anymore. Fred nodded. He'd known Michael long enough to understand. And your dad? How's James doing? A small smile crossed Michael's face. Pop's good. Prouder than anyone about the three-peat. Keeps telling me I should try baseball someday, just like he always wanted. Is that what this is about? You thinking of switching sports? Fred asked, surprised. I'm thinking about a lot of things, Michael admitted. I need space to figure it out. That's why I'm here. Fred leaned back in his chair, studying his famous friend. Well, the Mirage is the perfect place to disappear for a while. I can get you our best suite. Private elevator, room service. No one will bother you. Thanks, Fred. I appreciate that. Before Fred could respond, there was a knock at the door. Without waiting for an answer, a tall man with silver hair walked in. He wore an expensive suit and carried himself like someone used to giving orders. Fred, I was told you were hiding a very special guest in here, the man said, his eyes landing on Michael. Fred stood up quickly. Mr. Kelly, I was just about to call you. This is Michael Jordan, the man finished, extending his hand. Marcus, Kelly, I own this place. Michael stood and shook his hand. Nice to meet you, Mr. Kelly. Please, call me Marcus. Everyone does. He smiled, showing perfect white teeth. It's not every day we have the greatest basketball player in the world visit us right after winning a championship. Michael noticed that Marcus wore a championship watch similar to the ones the Bulls had received after their first title. You, a basketball fan? Marcus laughed. Fan? I played point guard for UCLA in the 70s. Not quite at your level, but I held my own. The three men talked basketball for a few minutes. Marcus knew his stuff, mentioning specific plays from the championship series that impressed even Michael. So, Marcus finally said, what brings the great Michael Jordan to my humble casino when he should be celebrating in Chicago? Michael and Fred exchanged glances. Just needed some time away, Michael said simply. Marcus nodded, seeming to understand. Perfectly. The spotlight gets hot, doesn't it? Even for someone who shines as bright as you. For some reason, Michael felt he could trust this man. Maybe it was their shared love of basketball. Maybe it was just that Marcus didn't seem impressed by his fame. I've been thinking about walking away, Michael said suddenly. Fred looked shocked, but Marcus didn't even blink. From basketball? Marcus asked. Michael nodded. I've done it all. 3 championships, MVP awards, Olympic gold medal. What's left to prove? Marcus considered this for a moment. Nothing to prove to others, perhaps. But what about to yourself? Before Michael could answer, Marcus checked his expensive watch. Listen, I'm hosting a private game tonight. High stakes, interesting people. No press, no fans, just cards, conversation, and discretion. Might help clear your head. He looked at Michael with understanding eyes. Sometimes, the best way to make a big decision is to step away from it for a night. Michael normally didn't play cards with strangers, but something about Marcus made him curious. Plus, the idea of a night where no one wanted anything from him except his company at a poker table was appealing. What time? Michael asked. 10 o'clock. Fred can bring you up. Marcus handed Michael a gold card with nothing but the number 12 printed on it. Show this at the private elevator. After Marcus left, Fred stared at Michael. You're not really thinking of retiring, are you? You're at the top of your game. Michael gazed out the window at the bright Las Vegas Strip, lights flashing against the desert night. That might be the perfect time to walk away. Fred shook his head in disbelief. Well, if you're serious about this, just be careful tonight. Marcus Kelly's games aren't your typical friendly poker nights. These are serious. Players with serious money. "I can handle myself," Michael said confidently. "I know you can on the basketball court," Fred replied. "But this is different. These guys don't care about your jump shot or your championships. In that room, you're just another player with chips." Michael smiled. "That sounds perfect, actually." A few hours later, after resting in his luxury suite, Michael put on a fresh suit and met Fred in the hallway. As they walked to the private elevator, Michael's phone rang. The caller ID showed Bull's office. Michael silenced the phone without answering. "They're probably wondering where you are," Fred said. "The parade is tomorrow." "I'll be there," Michael promised. "But tonight, I need this." The elevator opened, directly into a small, elegant lobby with a single door. A security guard checked Michael's gold card and nodded respectfully. "Mr. Kelly is expecting you, Mr. Jordan." As the door opened, Michael could hear the soft click of poker chips and quiet conversation. He stepped into a room that would change the course of his life forever. What Michael Jordan didn't know was that someone in that room had been waiting for him. Someone who had plans that had nothing to do with poker and everything to do with the future of basketball's greatest star. The private poker room at the Mirage was nothing like the noisy casino floor below. Thick carpet muffled footsteps. Dark wooden walls absorbed sound. A crystal chandelier hung from the ceiling, casting warm light over a large green felt table. The air smelled of expensive cigars and leather. Marcus Kelly stood as Michael entered. "The guest of honor has arrived, gentlemen." 5 men sat around the table. They all turned to look at Michael, their expressions ranging from surprise to calculated indifference. "Allow me to make introductions," Marcus said smoothly. "Michael Jordan, I'm sure you need no introduction." A round of nods and murmurs followed. "To my right is Howard Mills, owner of Mills Electronics." A heavy-set man with a red face nodded. "Good game the other night," he said. "That last shot was something else." Next to him is Senator Thomas Wilson. A thin man with gray hair smiled tightly. "An honor, Mr. Jordan, though I must confess I'm a Knicks fan." Michael laughed. "Nobody's perfect, Senator." Across from me is Richard Dawson. A man with movie star looks raised his glass in greeting. Michael recognized him from action films, and beside him is Walter Green, who owns half the casinos in Tufits, Atlantic City. A short, balding man with thick glasses didn't look up from his chips. "Let's play," he said impatiently. Michael took the empty seat between Marcus and Richard. Fred hovered nearby, looking uncomfortable. "I'll be at the bar if you need anything," Fred told Michael quietly. "What are we playing?" Michael asked, as a dealer in a black vest appeared. "Texas Hold'em," Marcus replied. $5,000 buy-in to start. No limit." Michael nodded, feeling a familiar rush. Not like basketball, but similar. The competition, the strategy, the mental game. He placed his cash on the table and received his chips. "Drinks, gentlemen?" a waitress asked. Everyone ordered. Michael asked for water. "Come on, Jordan," Howard said with a laugh. "You just won a championship. Live a little." "Water's fine," Michael insisted. The first few hands were cautious, everyone testing each other's playing styles. Michael won a small pot, then lost the next. He studied the men around him. Howard played aggressively, but his face gave away his cards. The senator folded too often. Richard seemed distracted. Walter played each hand the same way, making him predictable. Only Marcus was hard to read. His face showed nothing. An hour passed. The stakes grew higher. Michael lost $20,000, then won $35,000. The conversation flowed easily between hands, So, Howard said during a shuffle, 3 championships in a row. Going for a 4th? Michael shrugged. 1 season at a time. I heard rumors you might retire, the senator said casually. Michael's eyes narrowed. He hadn't told anyone except Fred about his thoughts. Where'd you hear that? The senator backtracked quickly. Just gossip, I suppose. Sports talk shows speculating. Retire? Richard laughed. At the top of your game. That would be career suicide. Sometimes there are more important things than career, Michael said, studying his cards. Like what? Walter asked, speaking up for the first time in a while. Family, peace of mind, new challenges. The men exchanged glances that Michael couldn't. Quite red. The conversation felt strange, like they knew something he didn't. Around midnight, the door opened and a new player entered. He was tall, almost as tall as Michael, with light brown skin and short black hair sprinkled with gray. He wore a perfectly tailored navy suit and moved with athletic grace. "Ah, Vincent," Marcus said, standing to greet him. "I wondered if you'd join us." "Sorry I'm late," the man said, his voice deep and smooth. "Business call ran long." "Michael, Jordan, meet Vincent Carter," Marcus said. Vincent owns several sports management companies and has an eye for talent. Vincent's handshake was firm as he met Michael's gaze. "The great Michael Jordan, an honor to finally meet you. I've been following your career since North Carolina." Something about Vincent made Michael uneasy. His smile seemed genuine, but his eyes were calculating, assessing. "You know my college days?" Michael asked. "Of course," Vincent replied, taking the empty seat directly across from Michael. "That shot against Georgetown in the '82 championship. Game? Legendary. I was there, actually. Freshman year." Michael relaxed slightly. A fellow UNC fan couldn't be all bad. But as the game continued, his uneasiness returned. Vincent played masterfully, winning hand after hand. More concerning, he seemed to know things about Michael that weren't common knowledge. "Your first car was a 1976 Grand Prix, right?" Vincent asked during one hand. "Green, if I remember correctly." Michael stared at him. "How would you know that?" Vincent shrugged. "I read it somewhere." Later, Vincent mentioned Michael's high school. Coach, Pop Herring, by name, something even most sports reporters didn't know. "You know a lot about me," Michael observed during a break. "I make it my business to know about exceptional people," Vincent replied. "And you, Mr. Jordan, are certainly exceptional." As the night wore on, the other players dropped out one by one. By 2 a.m., only Michael, Marcus, and Vincent remained. The stakes had risen dramatically. Michael was down over $100,000, but the amount didn't worry him. He had earned over $30 million in endorsements alone last year. What worried him was Vincent. The man kept watching him with those calculating eyes, like he was waiting for something. "You seem troubled, Michael," Vincent noted as the dealer shuffled. "Second thoughts about being here instead of Chicago?" "No," Michael said firmly. "I needed this break." "From basketball?" Vincent asked, his tone casual but his eyes intense. "From everything." Marcus cleared his throat. "Speaking of basketball, I've been meaning to ask you, Michael, these gambling rumors in the press, are they giving the NBA headaches?" Michael frowned. Several newspapers had recently published stories about his gambling habits. "The league knows I like to play. It's not a secret. It's my money and my business." "But it does raise questions, doesn't it?" Vincent pressed. "The image of the NBA's biggest star placing large bets. Some might call it a problem." "I don't have a problem," Michael said sharply. Vincent raised his hands. "I meant no offense. I admire your passion, but passion can become complicated when you're a public figure. The conversation felt like it had another layer, a hidden meaning Michael couldn't grasp. He glanced toward the bar where Fred sat, watching anxiously. Fred gave a small head shake, as if warning him. "You know," Vincent said, stacking his chips carefully, "there's a fine line between loving competition and needing it. Between playing to win and playing because you can't stop." "What exactly are you getting at?" Michael asked, his patience wearing thin. Vincent smiled. "Just making conversation. Deal the cards." The dealer began a new hand. Michael received an ace and a king. A strong starting hand. He bet aggressively. Marcus folded early, leaving just Michael and Vincent. The community cards came: ace, 7, 3, jack, queen. Michael had a pair of aces with a king kicker. A strong hand. "All in," Vincent said suddenly, pushing his entire stack of chips forward. Michael hesitated. Vincent either had a better hand or was bluffing. Michael prided himself on reading people, on knowing when to take risks. He stared at Vincent, trying to see past the calm exterior. "I'll call," Michael said, pushing his chips in. Vincent turned over his cards. Ace, jack. 2 pair, aces and jacks. Michael's stomach dropped as he showed his ace. King. Vincent's hand was better. "Bad luck," Vincent said, collecting the massive pot. Michael stood up. "I think I'm done for tonight." "Already?" Vincent asked. "The night is young." "I have a parade to attend tomorrow," Michael reminded him. "In Chicago." Vincent nodded thoughtfully. "Ah, yes, the obligations of a champion. They never end, do they?" As Michael turned to leave, Vincent added, "One more hand, Mr. Jordan? Winner take all?" Michael paused. "I'm down quite a bit already." "I wasn't talking about the money," Vincent said mysteriously. "I have a proposition that might interest you more than cash. A way to solve several problems at once." Michael should have walked away. Every instinct told him to leave. But the competitor in him, the part that hated losing, made him turn back. "What kind of proposition?" he asked. Marcus looked between them nervously. "Gentlemen, perhaps this discussion should wait for another time." "No," Vincent said firmly. "I think Michael Jordan needs to hear this tonight." The tension in the room was thick enough to cut. Michael sat back down, unaware that the next few minutes would set in motion events that would change basketball history forever. "I'm listening," Michael said, his eyes locked on Vincent. Vincent smiled and leaned back in his chair. "You've lost about $200,000 tonight. Not a large sum for someone of your wealth, but still, a loss is a loss." Michael didn't respond. Money wasn't what bothered him. It was losing to this man who seemed to know too much about him. "I'll give you a chance to win it all back," Vincent continued, "plus another $300,000. Half. $1,000,000. Total." Marcus shifted uncomfortably. "Vincent, I'm not sure this is appropriate." Vincent ignored him. "One hand. Winner takes all." Michael raised an eyebrow. "And if I lose, then you owe me $500,000, Vincent said simply. "A debt between gentlemen." Fred, who had been watching nervously from the bar, hurried over. "Michael, it's late. The Bulls will be looking for you. The parade is in a few hours." "This won't take long," Michael told him, never taking his eyes off Vincent. Fred looked panicked. "MJ, think about what you're doing. This isn't some friendly game anymore." "It never was," Michael replied. Vincent smiled, showing perfect white teeth. "Your friend is concerned. Perhaps he doesn't believe in your poker skills the way he believes in your jump shot." Michael's competitive nature flared. Throughout his life, doubts from others had always fueled him. The coach who cut him from varsity in high school, the DPT teams that passed on him in the draft, the critics who said he couldn't win championships. "Deal the cards," Michael said firmly. The dealer looked to Marcus for approval. The casino owner hesitated, then nodded once. Vincent leaned forward, his eyes gleaming. "Actually, I'd like to shuffle, if Mr. Jordan doesn't mind." Michael shrugged. "Go ahead." The dealer handed the deck to Vincent, who shuffled with expert precision. His fingers moved quickly, riffling the cards together with practiced ease. "You've done that before," Michael observed. "My father taught me," Vincent said, cutting the deck. "He was a dealer in Atlantic City for 40 years. Something in Vincent's tone made Michael wonder if there was more to that story. But he stayed silent as Vincent passed the deck back to the dealer. "Texas Hold'em," Vincent said. "One hand, $500,000. Michael nodded, and the E2 dealer gave each man 2 cards face down. Michael peeked at his hand. 2 kings, the Cowboys, a premium starting hand. His face remained neutral, but inside he felt a surge of confidence. Vincent looked at his cards briefly, then set them down. His expression revealed nothing. "Before we continue," Vincent said, "there's something you should know about me, Mr. Jordan." "What's that?" Michael asked, trying to focus on the game. "I never gamble unless I know I'll win." Vincent's eyes locked onto Michael's. "Never? Was it a bluff? A scare tactic?" Michael couldn't tell. But he knew his 2 kings were strong. "Let's see the flop," Michael said, ignoring the warning. The dealer burned a card, then laid out 3 community cards face up. A king of hearts, a 7 of clubs, and a 2 of diamonds. Michael fought to keep his expression neutral. 3 kings. 3 of a kind. One of the strongest hands possible. Only a straight, flush, full house, or 4 of a kind could beat it. And those were unlikely given the community cards. Vincent studied Michael's face, then looked at the cards. "Interesting," he murmured. "I'll check to you." 10,000, Michael said, pushing forward chips. Vincent matched his bet without hesitation. "Call." The dealer burned another card and turned over the 4th community card. The king of clubs. Michael's heart raced. 4 kings. 4 of a kind. The second strongest hand in poker, beaten only by a straight flush. The odds of this happening were astronomical. "Check," Vincent said, his face still unreadable. Michael tried to stay calm. 50,000, Vincent smiled slightly. "I'll call." He matched Michael's bet. "And raise you another 100,000. Fred stepped closer. "Michael," he whispered urgently. Michael waved him off. With 4 kings, he had an almost unbeatable hand. "Call. And I raise another 200,000. Vincent didn't even flinch. All in. The final bet was made. The dealer prepared to reveal the 5th and final community card. "Wait," Vincent said. "Before we finish this hand, I want to be clear about something." Michael frowned. "What now?" "This isn't just about money for me," Vincent said. "It's about proving a point." "What point?" "That even the great Michael Jordan has weaknesses, that even legends can fall." Vincent leaned forward. "Everyone has a price, Mr. Jordan. Even you." The dealer turned over the final card. The Ace of Spades. Michael still had 4 kings. An incredible hand. "Show your cards, gentlemen," the dealer instructed. Michael turned over his 2 kings, revealing his 4 of a kind. "Kings," he said confidently. Vincent nodded appreciatively, then slowly turned over his cards, the Ace of Hearts and the Ace of Diamonds. "Aces full," the dealer announced. 4 of a kind, aces. The only hand that could have beaten Michael's 4 kings was 4 aces. The odds were less than 1 in a million. Michael stared at the cards in disbelief. "That's impossible," he whispered. Vincent gathered the chips with a satisfied smile. "Nothing's impossible, Mr. Jordan. Isn't that what your Nike commercials say?" Fred put a hand on Michael's shoulder. "We need to go. Now." Michael stood up, still stunned by what had just happened. The loss itself didn't bother him as much as the feeling that he'd been set up, that the deck had been stacked against him from the start. "I'll have my accountant transfer the money tomorrow," Michael said stiffly. Vincent shook his head. "I don't want your money, Mr. Jordan." Michael frowned. "Then what was this about?" "Consider it a demonstration," Vincent said, standing to face Michael directly. "A reminder that everyone can lose when the game is rigged." Marcus stepped between them. "Vincent, that's enough." "What are you talking about?" Michael demanded. Vincent straightened his tie. "Let's just say I have a business proposition for you. Something more valuable than money." "I'm not interested in any proposition from you," Michael said, turning to leave. "Not even if it involves Atlantic City," Vincent called after him. "A special exhibition game. You against my team of street players. Winner takes the spotlight. Loser. Well, the loser fades away." Michael stopped. "You want me to play basketball against your street team? 1 game. Broadcast on pay-per-view. The gambling world would go crazy for it." Fred tugged at Michael's arm. "He's trying to use you, MJ. Your name, your fame. Don't fall for it." Vincent smiled coldly. "It's not about using him. It's about giving the people what they want. And what they want is to see if the legend is as good as they say. If he's worth betting on." Michael stepped closer to Vincent. "I don't play for gamblers. I play for championships." "Do you?" Vincent asked. "Or do you play for the thrill? The rush of taking risks? The high of winning against the odds?" He gestured to the poker table. "The NBA might not appreciate how much you enjoy games of chance, Mr. Jordan. How much money you've lost. The company you keep in places like this." The threat was clear. Vincent was implying he could make Michael's gambling public in a way that would damage his reputation and relationship with the NBA. "Are you threatening me?" Michael asked, his voice dangerously quiet. "Not at all," Vincent replied smoothly. "I am offering you an opportunity. Play 1 game against my team in Atlantic City. The betting will be enormous, and all I ask is that you don't play your best." Michael's eyes widened as he understood. "You want me to throw a game?" "I prefer to call it entertaining the crowd," Vincent said with a shrug. "Basketball is entertainment, after all. And sometimes the audience wants to see the underdog win." Marcus stepped in again. "This conversation is over. Mr. Jordan is leaving now." Michael glared at Vincent. "You set me up. The cards were marked." Vincent spread, his hands innocently. "Prove it. Call the Gaming Commission. File a complaint. Let the world know Michael Jordan lost $500,000 gambling in Vegas the night after winning the NBA championship. I'm sure the NBA commissioner would love to hear that story." Michael felt trapped. He looked at Fred, who seemed equally shocked by the turn of events. "Think about it," Vincent said, handing Michael a business card. "You have until tomorrow night. After that, well, I can't promise your gambling habits will remain private." Michael took the card automatically, too stunned to refuse. "Good night, Mr. Jordan," Vincent said with a small bow. "Naman, Centre UD.16. Congratulations again on your championship. It would be a shame if anything tarnished such a legacy." As Michael and Fred walked out of the private room, The world seemed to spin around them. Everything that had happened felt surreal, like a bad dream. "What just happened in there?" Michael asked, once they were alone in the elevator. Fred looked pale. "I'm not sure, but whatever it wasn't good." Michael stared at Vincent's business card. It was plain white with just a phone number printed in black. "He cheated," Michael said. "Had to have." "Probably," Fred agreed. "But he's right about one thing. If you make accusations, your gambling becomes the story. The Bulls, the NBA, your sponsors, they wouldn't like it." Michael leaned against the elevator wall and closed his eyes. The championship celebration in Chicago felt like it had happened a lifetime ago. "What are you going to do?" Fred asked quietly. Michael opened his eyes. His face hardened with determination. "I'm not throwing any game, ever. Not for him, not for anyone." What Michael didn't know was that refusing Vincent Carter's offer would set in motion a chain of events that would change not only his life, but the entire world of basketball. Back in his suite at the Mirage, Michael paced the floor. The sun was starting to rise over the Las Vegas Strip, painting the desert sky in shades of orange and pink. He had been up all night, and the championship parade in Chicago was just hours away. "I need to get back," he told Fred, who sat on the couch watching his friend with concern. "I've already called for your plane," Fred assured him. "It'll be ready in an hour." Michael stopped pacing and stared out the window. That guy, Vincent. Who is he really? Fred shook his head. "I don't know much. Marcus Kelly introduced him to the casino a few months ago. He plays big, always pays his debts. That's all the staff knows." "He knew things about me," Michael said quietly. "Personal things? Like what? My first car? My high school coach's name? Things that aren't in magazines?" Fred looked troubled. "That's weird, MJ. Real weird." Michael's phone rang. It was Scottie Pippen again, for the 5th time since midnight. This time, Michael answered. "Where are you, man?" Scottie demanded. "Everyone's looking for you. The parade starts in 4 hours." "I'm on my way back," Michael assured him. "Had to clear my head." "In Vegas?" Scottie sounded worried. "The press knows you're there. They're asking questions." "Let them ask," Michael said. "I'll be there for the parade. That's all that matters." After hanging up, Michael turned to Fred. "I need you to find out everything you can about Vincent Carter. Who he works for, where he comes from, everything." Fred nodded. "I'll try. But guys like that, they keep their real business private." "He threatened me," Michael said, his voice hard. "Nobody threatens Michael Jordan and gets away with it." An hour later, Michael was on his private jet heading back to Chicago. He had barely slept, his mind replaying the strange poker game and Vincent's impossible 4 aces. The more he thought about it, the more convinced he became that he had been set up from the start. As the plane crossed over the Midwest, Michael pulled out Vincent's business card. He stared at the plain white rectangle with its single phone number. Part of him wanted to tear it up and forget the whole thing. But another part, the competitor who hated losing, wanted to confront Vincent again. Michael's security guard, a former police officer named Joe, noticed him looking at the card. "Something wrong, Mr. Jordan?" Joe asked. Michael hesitated. Joe had worked for him for 3 years and was completely trustworthy. "Joe, have you ever heard of a sports manager named Vincent Carter?" Joe thought for a moment. "Can't say I have. Should I know him?" "Probably not," Michael admitted. "Just someone I met in Vegas." Joe's expression changed slightly. "Vegas, huh? Was this about gambling?" The concern in Joe's voice reminded Michael how his gambling might look to others. The press had already written stories suggesting he had a problem. The last thing he needed was more attention on this part of his life. Just a business contact, Michael lied, putting the card away. The plane landed in Chicago at 9:30 a.m. A car was waiting to rush Michael to his downtown penthouse, where he showered and changed into fresh clothes. By 10:45, he was in another car heading to the parade's starting point. Bulls coach Phil Jackson was the first to spot him arriving. "Cutting it close, aren't you?" Phil said. But his tone was more concerned than angry. "Made it, didn't I?" Michael replied with a forced smile. The championship parade was a blur of confetti, screaming fans and teammates slapping his back. Michael waved and smiled automatically, but his mind was elsewhere. Every few minutes, he found himself thinking about Vincent Carter and that poker game. Halfway through the parade, Bulls owner Jerry Reinsdorf pulled Michael aside during a brief stop. "We need to talk after this," Reinsdorf said quietly. "My office." Michael nodded, knowing what was coming. The gambling questions, the Vegas trip, the reporters who were already asking why the team's star had disappeared right after winning the championship. After the parade ended, Michael went straight to Reinsdorf's office at the United Center. The Bulls owner was waiting for him, along with NBA Commissioner David Stern, who had flown in for the parade. "Michael," Stern greeted him. "Congratulations on the three-peat." "Thank you, Commissioner," Michael replied, surprised to see Stern there. "Sit down, Michael," Reinsdorf said, gesturing to a chair. Michael sat, feeling like a schoolboy called to the principal's office. "I'll get right to it," Stern said. "We're concerned about these gambling stories, Michael. Especially this Vegas trip right after the finals." "It was just a quick getaway," Michael explained. "I needed some space." "To gamble?" Reinsdorf asked directly. Michael shifted in his chair. "I played some cards, yes. It's not illegal." "It's not about legality," Stern said, leaning forward. "It's about perception. The NBA's biggest star disappearing to Vegas right after winning a championship. It doesn't look good." "I don't care how it looks," Michael said, his frustration showing. "What I do with my free time is my business." "Not entirely," Stern countered. "Not when you're the face of the NBA. Not when children have your poster on their walls." Michael felt trapped again, just like he had in that poker room with Vincent. Everyone wanted to control him, to tell him what he could and couldn't do. "There are rumors," Reinsdorf said carefully, "about the amounts you're gambling. Michael, hundreds of thousands of dollars in a single night. If true, that would concern us." "As I said, it's my money," Michael insisted. Commissioner Stern cleared his throat. "Michael, let me be direct. The league is considering an investigation into your gambling activities." The words hit Michael like a punch to the gut. "An investigation? For what?" "To determine if your gambling creates any conflicts with your duties as a player," Stern explained. "To ensure the integrity of the game is not compromised." Suddenly, Vincent Carter's threat made more sense. He had known this was coming, known that Michael's gambling was already on the NBA's radar. "I have never bet on basketball," Michael said firmly. "Never." "We believe you," Reinsdorf assured him. "But we need to protect the league and the Bulls brand." Michael stood up. "So, what are you saying? That I can't play cards on my own time with my own money?" "We're saying you need to be more discreet," Stern replied, "and perhaps consider if this level of gambling is healthy." Michael felt his anger rising. "Now you're questioning my health? My choices?" "Michael, please." Reinsdorf tried to calm him. "We're on your side here." But Michael didn't feel like they were on his side. He felt cornered, judged, controlled. "I need some air," he said, walking toward the door. "Michael," Stern called after him. "This isn't going away. We need to address it." Michael paused at the door. "I'll think about it," he said without turning around. As he walked through the United Center, a building where fans cheered his name like a god, Michael Jordan felt more alone than ever. The freedom he craved seemed further away, not closer. Outside, reporters spotted him and shouted questions. "Michael, did you lose money in Vegas?" "Jordan, is the NBA investigating your gambling?" "Michael, are the rumors true about betting on your own games?" Michael pushed past them without answering and climbed into his car. As his driver pulled away, he took out Vincent Carter's business card again. For a moment, his finger hovered over the dial button on his phone. What if he called Vincent and told him he'd consider the exhibition game? Not to throw it, of course, but to play and win fairly. Would that satisfy Vincent? Would it make these gambling stories go away? Instead, Michael put the card away again. No, he wouldn't give in to threats. He wouldn't compromise his integrity. There had to be another way. When Michael arrived home, his father, James Jordan, was waiting for him. The sight of his father's familiar face brought the first real smile to Michael's lips since the championship game. "Tough day, son?" James asked, embracing Michael. "You could say that, Pop," Michael sighed. They sat in Michael's living room overlooking Lake Michigan. Michael told his father everything: the Vegas trip, the strange poker game, Vincent Carter's offer, and the meeting with Stern and Reinsdorf. James Jordan listened carefully, his weathered face showing concern. When Michael finished, James was quiet for a long time. "What do you think I should do, Pop?" Michael finally asked. James looked his son in the eye. "You know what I think about gambling, Mike. I've never liked it. But that's not the real issue here." "What is?" "The issue is whether basketball still makes you happy," James said simply. "Whether it's worth all this." Michael stared out the window at the Chicago skyline. "I don't know anymore, Pop. I really don't." "Then maybe it's time for a break," James T.T.'s suggested gently. "You've won 3 championships in a row. You've been the best. Maybe it's time to try something else for a while." "Like what?" Michael asked. James smiled. "Well, you know, I've always thought you could play baseball." The mention of baseball sparked something in Michael's mind. A new challenge, a different world, away from the pressures of being basketball's greatest star, away from Vincent Carter and gambling controversies. "You really think I could do it?" Michael asked. "Son, you can do anything you set your mind to," James said confidently. "You've proven that." For the first time since leaving Las Vegas, Michael felt a weight lifting from his shoulders. A way forward was beginning to take shape in his mind. What he didn't know was that Vincent Carter was already making his next move, and that the stakes were about to get much higher than a poker game or an exhibition basketball match. 2 days after the championship parade, Michael found himself back in Las Vegas. He told no one where he was going. Not his teammates, not his coaches, not even his father. Only Joe, his security guard, accompanied him on the private jet. "Are you sure about this, Mr. Jordan?" Joe asked, as they approached the Mirage Hotel after midnight. "After everything that happened last time." "I need answers," Michael said firmly. "And I'm not leaving until I get them." The Mirage was still busy, even at 2 a.m. Tourists played slot machines, dealers shuffled cards. No one seemed to notice the most famous basketball player in the world walking through the casino in jeans, a baseball cap, and sunglasses. Michael headed straight for the high-stakes poker room, hoping to find Marcus Kelly or Fred Silvers. Instead, he found an empty table and a different manager on duty. "I'm looking for Fred Silvers," Michael told the manager. "Mr. Silvers isn't working tonight," the man replied. "What about Marcus Kelly?" The manager looked uncomfortable. "Mr. Kelly isn't available either." Michael frowned. "When will they be back?" "I'm not at liberty to say, sir. Perhaps you'd like to leave a message?" Something wasn't right. Michael could feel it. He took out his phone and tried calling Fred's number, but it went straight to voicemail. As Michael walked back through the casino, he noticed a familiar face behind the bar. A young woman with short blonde hair and friendly eyes. She was mixing drinks and laughing with customers. Michael approached the bar and sat down. "What can I get you?" she asked without looking up. "Just water," Michael replied. The bartender glanced up, ready to serve the water. Her eyes widened with recognition. "Oh my God," she whispered. "You're Michael Jordan." Michael smiled slightly. "And you are?" "Sarah," she said. "Sarah Miller." She quickly poured his water. "I can't believe you're here. I was watching when you won the championship last week." "Thanks," Michael said. He took a sip of water, then decided to take a chance. "Sarah, I'm looking for some people who work here. Fred Silvers and Marcus Kelly. Do you know them?" Sarah's smile faltered. "Mr. Kelly is the owner. Everyone knows him. And Fred?" She hesitated. "Fred called in sick yesterday. Hasn't been in since." "That's strange," Michael said. "Fred seemed fine when I saw him a few days ago." Sarah leaned closer. "Look, I probably shouldn't be telling you this, but there's been some weird stuff happening here the past couple days. Fred was asking questions about some high roller who played here last week. Then suddenly, he's sick, and Mr. Kelly hasn't been around either." "This high roller," Michael said carefully. "Was his name Vincent Carter?" Sarah's eyes widened. "How did you know?" "I played cards with him," Michael explained. "I need to find him. It's important." Sarah glanced around to make sure no one was listening. "My shift ends in an hour. If you want to talk more, I'll be at the Moonlight Diner across the street." Michael nodded. "I'll be there." For the next hour, Michael wandered through the Mirage, keeping a low profile. He went back to the poker room, asked around about Vincent Carter, but no one seemed to know him, or they weren't talking. At 3 a.m., Michael slipped out of the casino and crossed Las Vegas Boulevard to the Moonlight Diner. It was a small 24-hour place with neon signs and red vinyl booths. Only a few customers sat inside, drinking coffee and eating late-night pancakes. Sarah arrived 15 minutes later, having changed out of her bartender uniform into jeans and a t-shirt. "Thanks for coming," Michael said, as she slid into the booth across from him. "I shouldn't be talking to you about this," Sarah admitted, "but something doesn't feel right, and, well, you're Michael Jordan. If you're worried about something, it must be serious." A waitress came by, and they both ordered coffee. "Tell me what you know about Vincent Carter," Michael said once the waitress had gone. Sarah took a deep breath. "Not much. He started coming to the Mirage about 2 months ago. Always played in the private room with Mr. Kelly. Always left with more money than he came with. Is he a professional gambler?" "I don't think so," Sarah said. "He never gets excited or angry when he wins or loses. It's like the money doesn't matter to him." "What does matter to him?" Michael asked. Sarah thought for a moment. "Connections. He's always talking to important people. Athletes, businessmen, politicians. Fred said Vincent was more interested in collecting people than collecting money." Their coffee arrived, and they sipped in silence for a moment. "Fred was worried about you," Sarah suddenly said. "After you left last time. He kept saying MJ's in trouble and doesn't even know it." "What kind of trouble?" Sarah shook her head. "He wouldn't say. But the next day, he started asking questions. About Vincent, where he came from, who he worked for. Then, he disappeared. Michael felt a chill despite the warm Nevada night. And Marcus Kelly? Gone, too, Sarah confirmed. His secretary says he's on vacation, but he never goes away during high season. Michael stared into his coffee cup. None of this made sense. A mysterious gambler who knew too much about him. A casino owner and manager disappearing right after he met them. And all of it somehow connected to his gambling habit that the NBA was now concerned about. "Why are you telling me all this?" Michael asked. "You don't know me. You're risking your job." Sarah looked embarrassed. "My brother Tommy is your biggest fan. He's 14 and has posters of you all over his room. He believes you're not just a great player, but a good person." She paused, then continued, "When I saw how worried Fred was about you, and then he disappeared, I figured Tommy wouldn't want me to stay quiet." Michael smiled. Sarah reminded him of why he played basketball, for fans like Tommy who looked up to him, who believed in him. "Thank you," he said sincerely. "Your brother sounds like a good kid." They talked until sunrise. Sarah told Michael everything she knew about Vincent, which wasn't much. Vincent always wore expensive suits. He spoke with a slight accent she couldn't place. He never gambled on weekends. As the diner filled with early morning customers, Michael realized they'd been talking for hours. "I should go," he said, leaving money for their coffee. "But thank you, Sarah. You've been more helpful than you know." Sarah looked at him with concern. "Be careful, Mr. Jordan. Vincent Carter isn't someone to mess with." "Call me Michael," he said with a smile, "and I can take care of myself." Michael started to leave, then turned back. "One more thing. Do you have a pen?" Sarah gave him a pen from her purse. Michael wrote his private number on a napkin. "If Fred comes back, or if you hear anything about Vincent, call me anytime." Sarah nodded, carefully folding the napkin into her pocket. Outside, the Las Vegas Strip looked different in the morning light. Less magical, more real. Michael's phone showed 7 missed calls, 3 from his agent, 2 from Bulls management, 1 from Scottie Pippen, and 1 from his father. He called his father first. "Michael," James Jordan answered immediately. "Where are you, son? Everyone's looking for you." "I needed to handle something, Pop," Michael explained vaguely. "I'm fine. The team called me," James said. "There's a meeting scheduled with Commissioner Stern tomorrow about the gambling investigation. They need you there." Michael closed his eyes. He'd almost forgotten about the NBA's concerns in his quest to find Vincent. "I'll be there," he promised. "I'm heading to the airport now." After hanging up, Michael stared at Vincent's business card again. He still hadn't called the number. Maybe it was time. But before he could dial, his phone rang with an unknown caller. "Hello?" Michael answered. "Mr. Jordan," a familiar voice said. "I was wondering when you'd return to Vegas." Michael's grip tightened on the phone. "Vincent, I hear you've been asking questions about me," Vincent said calmly. "That's not necessary. If you wanted to talk, you could have just called." "How? Did you get this number?" Michael demanded. "How do you know I'm in Vegas?" Vincent chuckled. "Let's just say I have resources, like the security cameras at the Mirage that showed you arriving last night, or the waitress at the Moonlight Diner who texted her friend about serving Michael Jordan breakfast." Michael looked around, suddenly feeling exposed on the busy street. "What do you want from me?" Michael asked directly. "The same thing I wanted 3 days ago," Vincent replied. "One exhibition game in Atlantic City. You against my players. The gambling world would go crazy for it. And I'm supposed to lose on purpose," Michael added bitterly. "Not necessarily," Vincent said, surprising Michael. "I just want you to play. The betting will be astronomical either way. Win or lose, I make money. Michael frowned, confused. Then, why threaten me? Why the poker games set up? To get your attention, Vincent explained. To show you that your gambling could become a problem for your career. The NBA is already investigating you, as I'm sure you know by now. How do you know that? Michael asked, though he already suspected the answer. I have friends in many places, Mr. Jordan, including the NBA front office. Michael felt sick. This whole thing was bigger than he'd thought. If I play your exhibition game, Michael said slowly, what happens to the NBA investigation? It goes away, Vincent promised. My friends make sure of it. Your gambling habits become a non-story. You continue your career without the cloud of scandal. It sounded too easy. And if I refuse? Vincent's voice hardened. Then, unfortunately, certain betting slips with your signature might find their way to Commissioner Stern's desk. Bets on NBA games. Not Bulls games, of course, but still, enough to end your career. I never bet on NBA games, Michael said angrily. Those would be forgeries. Perhaps, Vincent agreed, but the investigation would be long and painful. Your reputation would suffer either way. Michael wanted to throw the phone into traffic, but he kept his cool. I need time to think, he said finally. Of course, Vincent replied. You have 48 hours. I'll call you again then. The line went dead. Michael stood on the Las Vegas sidewalk, surrounded by tourists and morning commuters, feeling completely alone. He had come to Vegas seeking answers, but had only found more questions. Who was Vincent Carter, really? What did he want? And how far? Would he go to get it? As his driver took him to the airport, Michael stared out the window at the Nevada desert. The sun was fully up now, baking the landscape in harsh light. One thing was clear: Vincent Carter was dangerous. And whatever game they were playing, it wasn't poker anymore. Michael's private jet landed in Chicago late that afternoon. Rain poured down as he walked across the tarmac to his waiting car. The gloomy weather matched his mood perfectly. Take me to the Bulls office, Michael told his driver. Not home first, sir? The driver asked, surprised. No, I need to handle this now. The drive to the United Center was quiet. Michael stared out the window at the city that worshipped him. Billboards with his face selling shoes, sports drinks, and hamburgers. Children wearing his number 23 jersey, even in the rain. All of it felt strangely distant now, like he was watching someone else's life. At the Bulls headquarters, Phil Jackson was waiting in the lobby. The coach's normally calm face showed concern. Michael, Phil said, we've been trying to reach you. I know, Michael replied. I'm here now. They walked together to Jerry Reinsdorf's office. The Bulls owner was on the phone but hung up as soon. As Michael entered, "Where have you been?" Reinsdorf asked, not hiding his frustration. "I needed to clear my head," Michael said. It was becoming his standard answer. "Well, I hope it's clear now," Reinsdorf said, "because we have a serious situation. Commissioner Stern is coming tomorrow. The gambling investigation is moving forward." Michael sat down heavily. "I know." Phil and Reinsdorf exchanged concerned glances. "You know?" Phil asked. "How?" Michael considered telling them everything about Vincent Carter, the rigged poker game, the threats. But something held him back. If Vincent truly had connections in the NBA, who could he trust? "Just a feeling," Michael said instead. "The timing makes sense." Reinsdorf leaned forward. "Michael, we need to know everything before Stern gets here. Any gambling debts we don't know about? Any bets that might look bad?" "I've never bet on basketball," Michael insisted. "Never." "What about other sports?" Phil asked gently. Baseball? Golf? Michael hesitated. He had bet on golf, a lot. And yes, some baseball too. Some friendly wagers, he admitted. Nothing serious. How friendly? Reinsdorf pressed. We're talking dollar amounts, Michael. Before Michael could answer, his phone rang. The screen showed unknown caller. His first thought was Vincent again. But when he answered, it was Fred Silvers' voice on the line. MJ, Fred whispered. It's me. Fred? Michael said, surprised. Where are you? I was looking for you in Vegas. I can't talk long, Fred said, his voice shaky. They're watching me. Who's watching you? Vincent's people. They're everywhere. Fred paused, then added, Don't trust anyone at the NBA, Michael. Vincent has people there, high up. Michael's blood ran cold. Phil and Reinsdorf were watching him closely, clearly curious about the call. Where are you, Fred? Michael asked again. Let me help you. No. Fred's voice cracked with fear. Stay away from me. It's too dangerous. Just be careful. And whatever you do, don't agree to that game in Atlantic City. The line went dead. Michael stared at his phone, then slowly put it away. Who was that? Reinsdorf asked. Just a friend, Michael said. Personal business. Phil Jackson studied Michael's face carefully. Is everything okay, Michael? You look like you've seen a ghost. In a way, he had. Fred's call confirmed his worst fears. Vincent Carter wasn't just a random gambler. He had power, connections, and for some reason, he was targeting Michael Jordan. I'm fine, Michael lied. Just tired. Well, get some rest, Reinsdorf advised. The meeting with Stern is at 10 a.m. tomorrow. We need you sharp and focused. As Michael left the Bulls' office, rain still falling outside, he felt trapped in a game where he didn't know the rules. Basketball was simple. You knew the court, the time, the score. But this was something else entirely. That night, Michael couldn't sleep. He paced his penthouse apartment, staring out at Lake Michigan. Around midnight, he picked up his phone and dialed the number on Vincent's business card. It rang 3 times before Vincent answered. Mr. Jordan, I didn't expect to hear from you so soon. I want to meet, Michael said firmly. Face to face, no more phone calls, no more games. Vincent was quiet for a moment. That can be arranged. Where and when? Tomorrow night. Chicago. I'll text you the location. Very well, Vincent agreed. Though I should warn you, if you're planning something foolish, it won't end well. Just be there, Michael said before hanging up. The next morning, Michael arrived at the Bulls' office for the meeting with Commissioner Stern. He wore a dark suit and kept his sunglasses on, even indoors. He hadn't slept at all. Stern was already there with 2 NBA lawyers. Reinsdorf and Phil Jackson sat on one side of the conference table, leaving Michael to sit alone on the other side. It felt like a trial. Michael, Stern began, thank you for coming. I want to be clear, this is not an official investigation yet. We're simply gathering information. Michael nodded, but said nothing. We've received reports about your gambling activities, Stern continued. Specifically, large sums lost in Atlantic City and Las Vegas. My personal life is my business, Michael said flatly. Not entirely, one of the lawyers interjected. The NBA has moral clauses in all player contracts. Excessive gambling could violate those clauses. Michael glanced at the lawyer. He was a thin man with gray hair and cold eyes. Something about him seemed familiar, though Michael couldn't place it. Have you ever bet on NBA games, Michael? Stern asked directly. No, Michael said firmly. Never. What about through intermediaries, friends who placed bets for you? No, Michael repeated. The gray-haired lawyer slid a folder across the table. We have statements from casino employees that suggest otherwise. Michael opened the folder. Inside were written statements from people claiming they had seen Michael place bets on NBA games through friends. One statement was from a casino host at the Mirage, Las Vegas. Michael's jaw tightened. This was Vincent's work. The statements were lies, but they looked official. These are false, Michael said, closing the folder. Are they? The lawyer pressed. We have multiple sources, Phil Jackson spoke up. Commissioner, Michael has earned the right to be taken at his word. His character isn't in question here. Everyone's character is in question when it comes to gambling and sports, Stern replied. The integrity of the game is paramount. The meeting continued for 2 hours. The same questions, asked different ways. The same accusations, thinly veiled as concerns. Through it all, Michael maintained his innocence, but he could tell that the damage was being done. As the meeting ended, Stern pulled Michael aside while the others left the room. Michael, Stern said quietly, I've always respected you. You've done wonders for this league, but I need to protect the NBA. If there's anything you want to tell me, anything at all, now's the time. Michael looked into Stern's eyes, searching for signs that the commissioner might be one of Vincent's people in the NBA. But Stern's concern seemed genuine. I've never bet on basketball, Michael said one more time, but someone is trying to make it look like I did. Stern frowned. What do you mean? Who would do that? Michael almost told him everything then. About Vincent, the poker game, the threats. But Fred's warning rang in his ears. Don't trust anyone at the NBA. I don't know yet, Michael said instead, but I'm going to find out. After leaving the meeting, Michael went straight to his father's house in the Chicago suburbs. James Jordan was working in his garage when Michael arrived. How'd it go with Stern? James asked, wiping grease from his hands. Not good, Michael admitted. Someone's setting me up, Pop. James listened as Michael finally told someone the whole story. The poker game, Vincent Carter, the impossible 4 aces, the threats, Fred's warning call. When Michael finished, James sat heavily on his workbench. This is serious, son. More serious than I thought. I'm meeting Vincent tonight, Michael said. I need to end this. James shook his head firmly. No, that's too dangerous. If this man is as connected as you think, meeting him alone is asking for trouble. What choice do I have? Michael asked, frustrated. If I don't stop him, he'll destroy my career with these gambling accusations. James thought for a moment. There's always another choice, son. You could walk away for a while. Walk away? From basketball? James nodded. Just temporarily. Announce your retirement. Say you've lost your desire to play. You've won 3 championships in a row. No one would question it too much. Run away, you mean? Michael said bitterly. No, James corrected him. Make a strategic retreat. Give yourself time to figure out who this Vincent Carter really is. Remove his leverage. His leverage is the gambling, Michael pointed out. Exactly, James said. And if you're not playing basketball, the NBA won't care nearly as much about your gambling. Without basketball, his threats mean nothing. Michael paced the garage, considering his father's words. It was crazy, walking away at the peak of his career, but it also made a strange kind of sense. If he wasn't playing, Vincent's threats about the NBA investigation lost their power. What would I do? Michael wondered aloud. If not basketball? James smiled. You know, I've always thought you could play baseball. You were a heck of a ball player. In high school?" The idea took root in Michael's mind. Baseball. America's pastime. A completely different world from the NBA. A place where Vincent Carter would have no power over him. "Jerry Reinsdorf owns the White Sox, too," Michael said slowly. "He might let me try." "That's my boy," James said proudly. Always thinking. As Michael drove home that evening, his decision wasn't fully made. But the idea of walking away, of changing the rules of Vincent's game, felt powerful. For the first time since that poker game in Vegas, Michael felt like he might have the upper hand. His phone rang. It was Sarah Miller from the Mirage. "Michael?" she said, her voice tight with fear. "Something terrible has happened. It's Fred. They found him in the desert outside Vegas. He's dead, Michael." The car seemed to spin around him. "What? How?" "The police are saying suicide, but—" Sarah's voice dropped to a whisper. "I don't believe it. Fred would never kill himself." "Vincent!" Michael said, his hands gripping the steering wheel so hard his knuckles turned white. "I'm scared," Sarah admitted. "I shouldn't have talked to you. What if they come after me next?" "Pack a bag," Michael instructed her. "Go somewhere. Safe. Don't tell anyone where. I'll contact you when I can." After hanging up, Michael pulled to the side of the road. Fred was dead. An innocent man killed because he tried to help Michael Jordan. The stakes had suddenly become life and death. Michael canceled his meeting with Vincent. Instead, he drove straight to Jerry Reinsdorf's house. It was time to make the hardest decision of his career. The next morning, Michael Jordan called a press conference that would shock the world. The room was packed with reporters, cameras, and microphones. Every major sports network had sent their top people. The air buzzed with speculation. Was Jordan announcing a new contract? A new endorsement deal? No one expected what was coming. Michael sat at a table with Jerry Reinsdorf and Phil Jackson. On either side of him, he wore a plain gray suit and looked tired but determined. "Thank you all for coming," Michael began, his voice steady. "After much thought and discussion with my family and the Bulls organization, I am announcing my retirement from professional basketball, effective immediately." The room erupted. Reporters jumped to their feet, shouting questions. Cameras flashed like lightning. Phil Jackson and Jerry Reinsdorf looked appropriately solemn, having prepared for this moment. "Please," Michael raised his hands for quiet. "Let me finish." The room gradually settled down. "I have nothing left to prove in basketball," Michael continued. 3 consecutive championships, Olympic gold medal, MVP awards. I've accomplished what I set out to do. A reporter called out, "Is this because of the gambling investigation?" Michael's expression didn't change. "My decision has nothing to do with any so-called investigation. I've simply lost my desire to play the game. Basketball has been my life, but I feel it's time for a new challenge." Another reporter shouted, "What will you do now, Michael?" Michael glanced at Reinsdorf, then back to the crowd. "I've always loved baseball. It was my first sport as a child. My father and I have talked many times about me trying to play professionally. Now, I'll have that chance." The questions continued for an hour. Michael answered calmly, sticking to his story. He had lost his desire to play. He wanted to try baseball. He was grateful to the fans and the Bulls organization. Not once did he mention Vincent Carter, the poker game, or Fred Silvers' death. After the press conference, Michael drove to his father's house. James Jordan was watching the coverage on television when Michael arrived. "You did good, son," James said, embracing Michael. Kept your cool even with those vultures pecking at you. Michael sank into his father's couch. I still can't believe I just walked away from basketball. It's not forever, James reminded him. Just until you figure out this Vincent Carter business. Feels like forever, Michael admitted. That press room, the looks on their faces, like I'd betrayed them. People will understand someday, James assured him. And who knows? Maybe you'll love baseball so much you'll decide to stay. Michael attempted a smile. His father's optimism was comforting, even if he didn't fully share it. For the next week, Michael's retirement was the biggest sports story in the world. Theories spread like wildfire. Some believed the gambling rumors. Others thought he was burned out. A few speculated about secret injuries. No one guessed the truth, that Michael Jordan, the most competitive man in sports, had walked away to protect himself from an unseen threat. Through it all, Vincent Carter remained silent. No phone calls, no threats. Michael began to hope that his plan had worked, that by removing himself from basketball, he had taken away Vincent's power over him. Then, exactly 1 week after the retirement announcement, Michael received a text from Sarah Miller. "They're watching me. Need help." Michael immediately called her, but there was no answer. He left a message asking where she was, then tried again every hour. Nothing. Worried, Michael called the Mirage in Las Vegas and asked for Sarah Miller. The manager who answered told him Sarah hadn't shown up for her last 3 shifts and wasn't answering her phone. Michael paced his apartment, debating what to do. Should he fly to Vegas to look for Sarah? Call the police? What if Vincent had gotten to her too? His phone rang. Unknown number. "Hello?" Michael answered cautiously. "Retirement, Mr. Jordan?" Vincent Carter's smooth voice came through the speaker. "A clever move. I didn't see it coming." Michael's hand tightened around the phone. "What have you done with Sarah Miller?" "Miss Miller? The bartender? I have no idea what you're talking about." "Don't lie to me," Michael said angrily. "She texted that she was in trouble, and now she's missing." Vincent sighed. "Mr. Jordan, contrary to what you might think, I don't go around harming innocent people. If your friend is missing, perhaps she simply wants to avoid the attention that comes with being connected to your situation." "Like Fred Silvers avoided it?" Michael asked bitterly. "Fred Silvers took his own life," Vincent said coldly. "A tragic decision, but his own. Just as your retirement was your decision." "We both know that's not true," Michael said. "You forced my hand." "Did I? Or did I simply show you a truth you weren't ready to face?" Vincent's voice was maddeningly calm. "The truth that your gambling habit was becoming a liability. That sooner or later, it would have ended your career anyway. I merely accelerated the inevitable." "What do you want from me?" Michael demanded. "I'm out of basketball. Your threats don't work anymore." Vincent laughed softly. Michael, you think this was about basketball? This was never about the game. It was about power. Your power, specifically. The most influential athlete in the world. Imagine what someone could do with that influence if properly directed." "I'm not doing anything for you," Michael said firmly. "We'll see," Vincent replied. "People change their minds when the stakes get high enough." "Speaking of stakes, how is your father doing?" "James, isn't it? Still working on that new deck for his house in Wilmington?" Michael froze. "How do you know about that?" "I know many things, Mr. Jordan. Just as I knew you'd be at the Mirage that night. Just as I knew which cards to deal you." Vincent paused. "Your father seems like a good man. It would be a shame if something happened to him." "If you go near," My father, Michael began, his voice shaking with rage. You'll what? Vincent interrupted. Call the police? Tell them some mysterious gambler is threatening you? With what evidence? The world thinks you retired to play baseball, remember? Michael had never felt so helpless. Not on a basketball court, not even at that poker table. Just leave my family alone, Michael said, his voice quieter now. Please, they have nothing to do with this. That depends on you, Vincent said. I still want that exhibition game in Atlantic City. You against my players. Think about it. The line went dead before Michael could respond. Immediately, Michael called his father. No answer. He tried his mother's number, his sister's, his brother's. No one picked up. Panic rising, Michael called Joe, his security guard. Joe, I need you. To go to my parents' house right now. Check if they're safe. Mr. Jordan, what's wrong? Joe asked, confused. Just do it, Michael shouted. And keep trying to call them on the way. The next hour was the longest of Michael's life. He paced his apartment, trying his family's numbers every few minutes. Each unanswered call increased his fear. Finally, Joe called back. Mr. Jordan, I'm at your parents' house, Joe said. There's no one home. The door was unlocked, which is strange. And their car is gone. Any signs of trouble? Michael asked, dreading the answer. No, Joe reassured him, but it looks like they left in a hurry. There's food on the table, half eaten. TV's still on. Michael hung up and immediately called his sister, Deloy. Michael? She answered on the first ring. Have you heard from Mom and Dad? I've been trying to reach them all day. No, Michael said, his fear growing. When did you last talk to them? Last night, Deloy said. Dad was excited about finishing his deck this weekend. Michael tried to stay calm. Listen, if they contact you, tell them to call me immediately. It's important. After calling his other siblings with the same message, Michael sat in his darkened apartment, feeling completely alone. Vincent had taken everything from him, his career, his peace of mind, and now possibly his parents. The phone rang again. Michael grabbed it instantly. Hello? Michael? It was his mother's voice. Is everything okay? We have 20 missed calls from you. Relief washed over Michael like a wave. Mom, where are you? Where's Dad? We're at your Uncle William's house, she explained. Your father's car broke down on the way home from the hardware store. We had to leave it at the mechanic and get a ride with William. What's going on? Why are you so worried? Michael closed his eyes, thanking God they were safe. I just couldn't reach you. Got worried. Well, we're fine, his mother assured him. Though your father is grumpy about the car, you know how he loves that old thing. Put him on, please, Michael requested. A moment later, James Jordan's voice came on the line. Mike, what's all this fuss about? Pop, I need you and Mom to be careful, Michael said urgently. The man I told you about, Vincent Carter, he threatened you today. James was quiet for a moment. Threatened how? He knows you're building a deck at the house, knows your routine. Lots of people could know that, son. Please, Pop. Michael begged. Just be careful. Keep doors locked. Don't go out alone. Better yet, come stay with me in Chicago for a while, James chuckled. Son, I've lived 60 years without hiding from anybody. Not starting now. But if it makes you feel better, I'll keep an eye out. Promise me, Michael insisted. I promise, James said. Now stop worrying and focus on your baseball swing. I hear it needs work. After hanging up, Michael felt slightly better, but still uneasy. Vincent's threat against his father had seemed so specific, so deliberate. The next day, Michael increased security for his entire family. He hired retired police officers to watch his parents' home in North Carolina. He arranged for his mother and sisters to take a vacation to his beach house in Florida. He made sure someone was always with his father. 2 weeks passed. Michael began training for baseball, working out daily at the White Sox facility. The media circus around his retirement gradually died down, replaced by skepticism about his baseball ambitions. Through it all, Michael waited for Vincent's next move. But there was nothing. No calls, no threats, no mysterious poker games. It was as if Vincent Carter had disappeared. Then, on July 23, 1993, Michael woke to a call from his sister. "Michael?" Her voice was strange, thick with tears. "Michael, Dad's missing." Michael sat up in bed, instantly alert. "What do you mean, missing?" "He went to a funeral yesterday in Wilmington," she explained, her voice breaking. "He was supposed to drive home after, but he never arrived. Mom waited all night. His car is missing too." "What about the security team I hired?" Michael demanded. "Dad told them to go home," his sister said. "You know how stubborn he is," said. "He didn't need babysitters." Michael grabbed his keys. "I'm flying to North Carolina right now. Call the police if you haven't already." The next days were a blur of police stations, search parties, and desperate hope. Michael offered a reward for information. His family prayed. Law enforcement searched the highways between Wilmington and Charlotte. 5 days after James Jordan disappeared, the worst news came. A fisherman had discovered a body in a creek near the South Carolina border. The police called Michael to identify his father's remains. The official cause of death was murder, a single gunshot to the chest. James Jordan had been killed while sleeping in his car at a highway rest stop. His red Lexus, a gift from Michael, was found stripped and abandoned miles away. As Michael sat with his devastated family, making funeral arrangements for the man who had been his biggest supporter, his greatest fan, his best friend, he couldn't shake one terrible thought. Was this Vincent Carter's work? Had his father died because of Michael's refusal to throw a basketball game? The police didn't think so. They quickly arrested 2 teenagers who had stolen James Jordan's car and possessions. The murder, they said, was a random act of violence, APD robbery gone wrong. Just terrible luck that the victim happened to be Michael Jordan's father. But Michael wasn't convinced. The timing was too perfect. Vincent had threatened his father, and weeks later, James Jordan was dead. It couldn't be coincidence. At the funeral, surrounded by family, friends, teammates, and coaches, Michael stood stoic and silent. The grief was overwhelming, but so was the guilt. If he hadn't gone to Vegas that night, if he hadn't played poker with Vincent Carter, would his father still be alive? After the service, as people offered condolences, a man in a dark suit approached Michael. He was tall, well-dressed, with light brown skin and gray-streaked hair. "Mr. Jordan," the man said quietly, "I'm deeply sorry for your loss." Michael looked up, ready to thank another well-wisher. Then he froze. Standing before him, offering condolences at his father's funeral, was Vincent Carter. "You," Michael whispered, rage building inside him. "How dare you come here?" Vincent's face showed perfect, practiced sadness. "I truly am sorry about your father, Mr. Jordan. James was by all accounts an exceptional man." Michael stepped closer, his hands curling into fists. Several family members noticed the tension and moved toward them. "Did you do this?" Michael asked, his voice dangerously quiet. Vincent looked genuinely surprised. "Do this? You can't possibly think I had anything to do with your father's tragic death. You threatened him," Michael hissed. "You said it would be a shame if something happened to him. And now he's gone." Before Vincent could respond, Joe, Michael's security guard, appeared at his side. "Everything okay here, Mr. Jordan?" Michael stared at Vincent, weighing his options. He could cause a scene, accuse this man in front of everyone. But what proof did he have? A phone call no one else had heard? A poker game no one would believe was rigged? "Mr. Jordan is simply overcome with grief," Vincent said smoothly to Joe. "Perfectly understandable. I was just offering my condolences." "Get out," Michael finally said. "Get out before I forget we're in a church." Vincent nodded respectfully and turned to leave. But before walking away, he leaned close to Michael and whispered, "When you're ready to talk, you know how to reach me." Some things can't be left unfinished. Joe watched Vincent leave. "Who was that guy?" "Nobody," Michael said, though his eyes followed Vincent until he disappeared through the church doors. "Nobody important." That night, alone in his childhood bedroom in North Carolina, Michael couldn't sleep. Every time he closed his eyes, he saw his father's face. Then Vincent's face. Then the poker table in Vegas. It all connected somehow, but he couldn't see the full picture. Around 3 a.m., Michael's phone rang. He answered immediately, expecting family. "Mr. Jordan." It was Sarah Miller's voice. "I'm so sorry about your father." "Sarah?" Michael sat up. "Where are you? Are you okay?" "I'm safe," she assured him. "I went to stay with my brother in Minnesota after what happened to Fred." "Why didn't you answer when I called?" Michael asked. "I was scared," Sarah admitted. "After Fred died, I started noticing men watching my apartment. I just ran." Michael understood her fear all too well. "Did you see Vincent Carter at the Mirage again before you left?" "No, but—" Sarah paused. "I found something in Fred's locker at work. A file with Vincent's name on it. Fred was investigating him." Michael's heart raced. What did it say? Mostly newspaper clippings about gambling operations in Atlantic City, and a photo of Vincent with another man. Fred had written SD connection on the back. SD? Michael repeated. "What does that mean?" "I don't know," Sarah said. "But there's something else." One of the clippings mentioned a basketball point-shaving scandal at Boston College in the 70s. A player was paid to miss shots, keep games under the point spread. Michael thought back to Vincent's offer to play an exhibition game, but not play his best. It was the same idea, just on a bigger scale. "Did you bring the file with you?" Michael asked. "No, I left it in Fred's locker. I was too scared to take it." Sarah's voice trembled. "Michael, do you think Vincent killed Fred? And your father too?" "I don't know," Michael answered honestly. "But I'm going to find out." After hanging up, Michael made a decision. He'd spent weeks running from Vincent Carter. And where had it gotten him? His father was dead. Fred was dead. Sarah was in hiding. It was time to stop running and start fighting back. The next morning, Michael called Phil Jackson. "I need information," Michael said without greeting, "about a man named Vincent Carter. He claims to own sports management companies. He might have connections to Atlantic City casinos." Phil was quiet for a moment. "This is about more than basketball, isn't it, Michael?" "Yes," Michael admitted. "Much more." "I know people who can look into him discreetly," Phil offered. "But I need to know what's going on. The truth this time." Michael took a deep breath and told Phil everything. The poker game, the impossible 4 aces, the threats, Fred's death, and his suspicions about his father's murder. When he finished, Phil was silent for a long time. "That's hard to believe, Michael." "I know how it sounds," Michael said, "but it's true. Every word." "Why didn't you come to me sooner?" Phil asked, hurt evident in his voice. "Vincent said he had people in the NBA," Michael explained. "I didn't know who to trust." "You can trust me," Phil said firmly. "Always." After hanging up, Michael drove to the local police station. The detective handling his father's case was a serious man named Reynolds, who clearly felt the pressure of investigating the murder of Michael Jordan's father. "Mr. Jordan," Detective Reynolds greeted him, "I was about to call you. We have more evidence linking the suspects to your father's car." "I need to ask you something," Michael said, getting straight to the point. "Is it possible someone hired these kids to kill my father?" Reynolds frowned. "Hired them? No, everything points to a random robbery. These are local troublemakers, not professional killers." "But could someone have paid them?" Michael pressed. "Someone who wanted to make it look random?" "Mr. Jordan, I understand you're looking for answers," Reynolds said gently. "But sometimes terrible things happen for no reason. Your father was simply in the wrong place at the wrong time." Michael wasn't satisfied, but he knew the detective wouldn't take his suspicions about Vincent seriously. Not without evidence. Over the next few weeks, Michael tried to lose himself in baseball training. He spent hours in the batting cage, trying to transform his basketball skills into baseball talent. The media mocked his efforts, calling it a vanity project, but Michael didn't care. Baseball had been his father's dream for him. Phil Jackson called regularly, with updates on his investigation into Vincent Carter. The information came in pieces. Vincent owned shares in several Atlantic City casinos. He had been investigated for gambling fraud in the 1980s, but never charged. His real name wasn't Vincent Carter at all, but Victor Castellano, and most interestingly, he had deep connections to a man named Sam DiMaggio, a known figure in organized crime with gambling. Operations throughout the East Coast. SD connection, Michael realized. Sam DiMaggio. In October, 3 months after his father's death, Michael was at the White Sox training facility when he received a call from an unknown number. "Hello? Mr. Jordan?" It was Vincent's voice. "It's been a while." Michael's grip tightened on the phone. "What do you want?" "The same thing I've always wanted," Vincent replied calmly. "That exhibition game in Atlantic City. You against my players, one night only." "After everything that's happened? After my father?" "Your father's death was a tragedy," Vincent interrupted. "A random act of violence. I had nothing to do with it." "I don't believe you," Michael said. "Believe what you want," Vincent replied. "But consider this. If I was involved, wouldn't that make you want justice even more?" "What are you talking about?" "I'm talking about proof, Mr. Jordan," Vincent said. "Play this game for me, and I'll give you what you need to find out who really killed your father." Michael's heart pounded. "You're lying. The police caught the killers." "Did they? Or did they catch 2 convenient scapegoats? 2 local boys with records, caught with your father's things." "You're saying they're innocent?" Michael asked, confused. "I'm saying there's more to the story," Vincent replied. "Much more. Play the game, and I'll tell you everything." After hanging up, Michael paced the locker room, his mind racing. Was Vincent telling the truth about having information? Or was this just another manipulation? Another way to force Michael to do what he wanted? That evening, Michael received a package at his Chicago apartment. Inside was a folder containing police reports about his father's murder, reports not available to the public, and crime scene photos that made Michael's stomach turn. Attached was a note from Vincent. "This is just the beginning of what I can show you." 2 days later, Michael Jordan called his second press conference of the year. Once again, the room was packed with reporters, all eager to hear what the retired superstar had to say. "Thank you for coming," Michael began, his face somber. "I've been trying to play baseball these past months, honoring my father's dream for me. But the truth is, my heart isn't in it. Not fully." The reporters scribbled frantically, sensing a major announcement. "Basketball has always been my true love," Michael continued. "The game has given me everything, and in return, I gave it my best. Always." He paused, looking around the room. "That's why I've decided to return to the Chicago Bulls." The room erupted with questions and excitement. Cameras flashed. Reporters jumped to their feet. Through it all, Michael maintained his composure, answering questions about his change of heart, his baseball experiment, his readiness to play again. Not once did he mention Vincent Carter, the exhibition game in Atlantic City, or the promise of information about his father's murder. Those secrets remained his alone. After the press conference, Michael met with Phil Jackson in private. "Are you sure about this?" Phil asked. "Coming back now?" "I have to," Michael replied. "I'm not running anymore." "And this Vincent Carter? You think he'll leave you alone once you're playing again?" Michael shook his head. "He'll come after me harder than ever, but at least I'll be back on familiar ground. The basketball court is where I know how to win." What Michael didn't tell Phil was that he had already agreed to Vincent's exhibition game, one night in Atlantic City, after the NBA season ended. Michael Jordan against Vincent's team of street players, broadcast on pay-per-view to gamblers worldwide. In exchange, Vincent promised to reveal who had really killed James Jordan, and why. Michael didn't know if Vincent would keep his word, but after months of grief and helplessness, he needed to do something, anything, to find justice for his father. As Michael left the Bulls facility that day, reporters shouted more questions. "Michael, will you be as good as before? Jordan, can you win another championship? Michael, what will you say to those who doubt your comeback?" Michael smiled his famous smile, the one that had sold millions of shoes and countless sodas. "I'll just say 2 words," he told them. "I'm back." What no one knew was that Michael Jordan wasn't just coming back to basketball. He was coming back to fight a hidden battle against the man who had taken everything from him. A battle where the stakes were higher than any championship. 3 days later, Michael received another package. Inside was a single black and white photo of James Jordan at a highway rest stop, asleep in his red Lexus. The photo was time-stamped just hours before his murder. On the back was written, "I always collect my debts. Atlantic City, July 16th. Be there." Michael stood at his window, staring out at Chicago as the sun set over the city that worshipped him. The photo confirmed his worst fears. Vincent had been involved in his father's death. The exhibition game wasn't just about gambling anymore. It was about justice. As darkness fell, Michael Jordan made a vow to himself and to his father's memory. He would play Vincent's game in Atlantic City. He would face whatever team Vincent put against him, but he wouldn't lose, not on the court, and not in this dangerous game they were playing. This time, Michael Jordan would make sure he held all the aces. The 1994-95 NBA season was unlike any Michael had experienced before. His return to basketball was triumphant but challenging. After more than a year away from the game, his timing was off. His legendary stamina wasn't quite the same. The Bulls were good, but not great. Still, the fans didn't care. They were simply thrilled to have their hero back. Arenas sold out everywhere. He played. Children screamed his name. The famous number 23 jersey once again became the most popular in the world. Through it all, Michael kept his secret. No one, not his teammates, not the press, not even Phil Jackson, knew about the upcoming exhibition game in Atlantic City, or about the photos Vincent kept sending, each one showing James Jordan on the last night of his life, each one proving that Vincent had been involved somehow. One evening in May, as the Bulls prepared for a playoff game against the Orlando Magic, Phil Jackson pulled Michael aside after practice. "My sources found something interesting about your friend Vincent," Phil said quietly. Back in the 70s, he worked for point-shaving operations at Boston College, just like Sarah told you. But there's more. He was also connected to a referee. Scandal in the NBA. Michael's eyes widened. "The NBA? When?" "Early 80s, Phil explained. Nothing was ever proven, but several refs were suspected of making calls to affect point spreads. Vincent was questioned, but never charged. So he's been trying to corrupt basketball for decades," Michael said, pieces falling into place. "First, with college players, then with refs, now with me. There's something else," Phil added. "Vincent has a partner who handles the money side, Sam DiMaggio. They split profits 50-50. Michael nodded. "SD connection." "Exactly. And DiMaggio owns a significant stake in a cable company that specializes in pay-per-view events." Michael thought about the exhibition game Vincent had planned. Pay-per-view to gamblers worldwide. The profits would be enormous. "Michael," Phil said carefully, "whatever you're planning with Vincent, and don't tell me you're not planning something, be careful. These aren't just gamblers. They're dangerous people." Michael put a hand on his coach's shoulder. "I know, Phil, and I promise, after July 16th, it will all be over." The Bulls lost to Orlando in the playoffs. For the first time in years, Michael Jordan would not be NBA champion, but he had other battles to fight now, other victories to secure. As July 16th approached, Michael prepared meticulously. He trained harder than ever, getting his body back to its peak condition. He studied the street players Vincent was likely to use against him, finding footage of their games, learning their strengths and weaknesses, and most importantly, he gathered evidence. With Phil's help, and through private investigators, Michael collected financial records linking Vincent to gambling operations, phone records showing calls between Vincent and Sam DiMaggio on the night of James Jordan's murder, and most damning of all, bank transfers to the two teenagers accused of killing his father. 3 days before the Atlantic City game, Michael received a final package from Vincent. Inside was a DVD with a note. "Watch this alone." Michael put the ETU disc into his player. The video showed his father's red Lexus at a highway rest stop. The timestamp showed 1:47 a.m., July 23, 1993. A figure approached the car, one of the teenagers later arrested for the murder. But he wasn't alone. Another man stood in the shadows, directing him. Michael couldn't see his face, but the expensive suit and confident posture were unmistakable. Vincent Carter. Michael watched in horror as the events unfolded. His father, asleep in his car. The Lao, teenager, nervous, but determined. Vincent, staying in the shadows, but clearly in charge. Then a flash, a gunshot, and the video ended. Michael sat in stunned silence. Vincent had just sent him proof of his involvement in James Jordan's murder. Proof that could put him in prison for life. Why would he do that? The answer came in a text message. Now you know the truth. The question is, what will you do with it? Remember, if I go down, the video goes public. Your father's final moments, for all the world to see. Play the game, lose as agreed, and this stays between us. Michael understood now. This wasn't just blackmail. This was Vincent's ultimate power play. By sharing the video, he had made Michael an accomplice in hiding evidence. If Michael went to the police, the video would be released, turning his father's death into a media spectacle. The morning of July 16th arrived. Michael flew to Atlantic City on a private jet. He had told his family and friends he was taking a short vacation. No one knew his real purpose. The exhibition game was set for 9 p.m. at a small arena, connected to one of Vincent's casinos. No NBA logos or affiliations, just Michael Jordan versus the Street Kings. Tickets had sold out instantly at $1,000 each. The pay-per-view was expected to draw millions of viewers worldwide. At 7 p.m., Michael arrived at the arena's back entrance. Security guards led him to a private locker room where a single Bulls uniform hung waiting, number 23, just as always. As Michael changed, the door opened. Vincent Carter walked in, dressed in an expensive Italian suit, looking perfectly calm and confident. "Mr. Jordan," Vincent greeted him. "I appreciate you honoring our arrangement." Michael didn't respond. He continued lacing up his shoes, his face blank. "The game is simple," Vincent continued. 5 on 5. You and 4 local college players against my Street Kings. First team to 80 points wins. "And you expect me to lose," Michael said, finally looking up. "I expect you to remember what's at stake," Vincent replied. "Your father's dignity, your family's peace, the truth about that night." Michael stood up, towering over Vincent. "I've never lost on purpose in my life. There's a first time for everything," Vincent said with a cold smile. "Even for the great Michael Jordan." As Vincent turned to leave, Michael asked, "Why my father? Why not just threaten me directly?" Vincent paused at the door. "Because threats against you wouldn't work. You're too stubborn, too competitive. But family? Family is everyone's weakness, even yours." After Vincent left, Michael sat alone in the locker room. His mind flashed back to that night in Vegas, the poker game, the impossible 4 aces, then to his father's funeral, the police investigation, the photographs, the video. It all led to this moment, this choice. Play and lose, protecting his father's memory but compromising everything he stood for. Or play and win, staying true to himself but risking the release of that horrible video. At 9 p.m. sharp, Michael Jordan walked onto the court. The crowd roared. Gamblers worldwide watched on pay-per-view, most betting heavily on the Street Kings based on rumors that Jordan wasn't in top form. Vincent sat courtside, Sam DiMaggio beside him. Both men looked confident, certain of their victory. Either Michael would lose the game as instructed, or he would win and they'd release the video. Either way, they won. The game began. Michael's teammates were decent college players, but nothing special. The Street Kings were all former college stars and playground legends, each with something to prove against the world's greatest player. For the first quarter, Michael played cautiously, missing shots he would normally make, allowing the Street Kings to build a lead. Vincent watched with a satisfied smile. Everything was going according to plan, but in the second quarter, something changed. Michael started playing like the Michael Jordan everyone knew, driving to the basket, hitting impossible shots, playing lockdown defense. The crowd went wild as he single-handedly erased the Street King's lead. Vincent's smile disappeared. He leaned over to DiMaggio, whispering urgently. DiMaggio looked worried, then angry. By halftime, the game was tied. As Michael walked to the Urti locker room, Vincent intercepted him in the tunnel. "What do you think you're doing?" Vincent demanded. "We had an agreement." Michael looked at him calmly. "I never agreed to lose." "The video," Vincent began. "Release it," Michael interrupted. "Do your worst. I'm done letting you control me." Vincent's face hardened. "You'll regret this, Jordan." As the second half began, Michael noticed security guards entering the arena. Not casino security, but FBI agents in windbreakers. They positioned themselves near all exits. He smiled slightly. Just as planned. The third quarter was Michael at his absolute best. He scored 30 points in just 12 minutes, making shots that seemed impossible, playing with a fury and focus that left the crowd stunned. The Street Kings tried everything to stop him, but nothing worked. Vincent grew increasingly agitated. He made phone calls, whispered to DiMaggio, even tried to signal to players on the court. But the game had slipped beyond his control. With 2 minutes left in the fourth quarter, Michael's team led by 15 points. Victory was certain. Vincent and DiMaggio stood to leave, heading for the exit, but FBI agents stepped in their path. "Vincent, Carter and Sam DiMaggio," one agent announced, "you're under arrest for conspiracy to commit fraud, racketeering, and accessory to murder." The crowd fell silent. The game stopped. All eyes turned to the scene unfolding courtside. "This is absurd," Vincent protested as agents handcuffed him. "You have nothing on me." "Actually," Michael said, approaching them, "they have everything on you. Every threat, every scheme, every crime, including my father's murder." Vincent's face went pale. "The video was sent to the FBI the moment I received it," Michael finished for him, "along with all your other gifts. You gave me the evidence I needed to prove you ordered my father's murder." "But why would I do that?" Vincent asked desperately. "Why incriminate myself?" "Because you're arrogant," Michael said simply. "You thought you had me trapped, that I'd never risk the video becoming public. But you forgot who you were dealing with." As the agents led Vincent and DiMaggio away, the crowd began to understand what they had witnessed. This wasn't just an exhibition game. It was the final act in a battle between Michael Jordan and the man who had tried to destroy him. The game never officially ended. No one cared about the score anymore. Michael left the court quietly, changing in the locker room while reporters gathered outside, desperate for answers. 1 month later, Michael Jordan held his third press conference of the year. This time he explained everything: the poker game in Vegas, Vincent's threats, the investigation into his gambling, his temporary retirement, and finally, the truth about his father's murder. Vincent Carter and Sam DiMaggio ran an illegal gambling operation focused on manipulating sports outcomes, Michael explained to the shocked reporters. "When I refused to participate, they targeted my father as leverage." "Why not go to the police immediately?" a reporter asked. "I needed evidence," Michael replied, "and I needed to protect my family from further harm." News outlets worldwide covered the arrests and subsequent trial. Vincent and DiMaggio were convicted of multiple crimes, including orchestrating Jordan's murder. The two teenagers who had actually committed the murder received reduced sentences for testifying against them. In the aftermath, NBA Commissioner David Stern personally apologized to Michael for the gambling investigation. "We were looking in the wrong direction," Stern admitted. "We should have trusted you." Michael returned to the Chicago Bulls for the 1995-96 season with a renewed purpose. Free from Vincent's threats and with justice served for his father, he led the Bulls to the greatest season in NBA history, winning 72 games and another championship. Years later, a reporter asked Michael if he ever regretted his decision to return to basketball instead of continuing with baseball. "Baseball was my father's dream," Michael answered thoughtfully. "But fighting for justice, that was something we both believed in. Sometimes the greatest victories happen off the court." As for the mysterious Vincent Carter, he spends his days in a federal prison, remembered only as a footnote in the legendary career of Michael Jordan, the man who refused to lose, even when the game was rigged against him. The Las Vegas incident that had started it all faded from public memory, replaced by more championships, more iconic moments, more Air Jordan glory. But Michael never forgot those nights in Vegas, the poker game that changed everything, and the terrible price his family had paid. And sometimes, late at night, he still dreams of 4 aces and a deck of cards that was stacked against him from the start. Thank you for joining me on this journey, exploring how a simple poker game led to such life-changing consequences for basketball's greatest legend. Where are you listening from today? I'd love to know in the comments below. If you enjoyed this story, please take a moment to like this video and subscribe to the channel for more interesting stories like this one. I share new content regularly that dives into fascinating mysteries, both sports-related and beyond. Don't forget to share this video with your friends and family who might enjoy it too. Spreading these stories helps create awareness and brings a bit of kindness to someone's day through the power of storytelling. Until next time, thank you for listening, and I'll see you in the next video.